All right, we will call tonight's city council meeting to order. We will excuse Mayor Hakes. He is out of town this week, so I will be running tonight's meeting. I'm Leslie Jones. And we will excuse Reed Carlson as well. He is absent from this meeting. We'll start with a prayer offered by Councilmember Garrett, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Egbert.
Our Heavenly Father, we bow before Thee this evening. We're thankful for the beautiful weather that we've enjoyed and the moisture that's fallen. We're thankful for this time once again we can gather as a council and city staff with the city to have this city council meeting. We're grateful for this wonderful community, and we pray that Thou will bless us, that we can make decisions that will better our community and that we can have a cohesive discussions. We pray that Thou will bless each of our citizens, that they will receive the blessings that they need and the comfort in times of trial. We pray for these things now in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have nobody signed up for a public forum, so we will move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve the consent agenda has been made by Councilmember Egbert and seconded by Councilmember Beck.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Okay, we'll move on to our action item. Consideration of a resolution allowing the Parks and Rec Department to use impact fees in the amount of $16,645 to continue the process of planning the renovation of City Park. Logan Minor, we'll turn the time to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the council. So this one is just a continuation. We've had a lot of conversations with City Park, and I think we've all talked in depth, at least internally. I feel like we've had some really good conversations. This is really just the next step in order to gain some more public feedback. That's something as staff that we've gone back and looked at that I think will help set the framework for the rest of the project. It's kind of broken up into the two pieces. We still know the infrastructure in the form of the electrical and the sprinkler, the bathroom it's undersized, the gazebo. Those things we still are planning and working towards, but as far as just that layout and what the park is going to do, we feel like it's important to maybe take a step back and make sure that we get good community involvement to make sure we're meeting the needs of the community, not just now, but into the future. So as part of this process, we'll then be able to invite members of the community onto a committee, and they'll kind of be our focus group to help guide some discussions on that. And then we would do a similar process of what we did with our trails plan, do a public open house. It's called a charrette. Be a little bit more hands-on. The architects would be here and pretty much just have an art session while everybody's talking and writing things down, kind of be some bubble diagrams of saying this is the majority of what we think it's going to be, but then based on the feedback of the community, then that will it may alter the design, or it may, we may have got a home run and then we go from there. So this is really just a process to continue that, to make sure that we're looking at all needs. One thing that is of note that I want to make sure is a note is Memorial Hall in this process. We talked a little bit with our facilities plan, which that will be coming up shortly, the master plan document of the facilities. But as we've thought about Memorial Hall and its place, and I think it's critical that we make sure that's part of this project. And it would be really nice to solicit that feedback as well, to kind of see what the gauge is on people on Memorial Hall long-term. If it's gonna stay, does it go, is it repurposed, what is that? So, that's another big component of this as well, so.
I really like this because the more I've talked to people in the last few weeks, the more shocked and kind of like taken aback the people are feeling, like, whoa, you guys are already going to completely redo the park? What is it going to look like? Well, so it seems like this is a good move to kind of take a step back and involve them. My only question is, what is the $16,000 going to go to exactly?
Yeah, so one of the big pieces is that public charrette piece. So the architect will be able to lead that discussion with his team. When we met with him, it sounded like there's gonna be 3 or 4 on his team that would be here. That, again, they're leading that meeting, kind of going over the process of what it is. So that's a big portion of it. Another portion of it is the continued design of it. And again, the last one was kind of the back half of the park, let's call it. This is looking at the whole park in itself. So there could be some components that are gonna change based on that feedback and helping the flow of the park continue. Right now, if you kind of think of City Park, we've got the ball field section in the back, which is been around and needing of some updates. We have our town square, which we've recently completed, and then we have that front southern or north side that's kind of that community space. And right now, they're just not really cohesive. It's kind of like they're all their independent usage, and the hope is to help craft a design that will help make that flow a little bit better and connect, whether that's via trails or however that works. We feel like this will help enhance that piece of it. So that's a big chunk of the cost, is just that public input side of it. And then there will also be, with that focus group internally, be meeting with them. So I think there was 4 meetings on that in the scope of work. So, and again, they would help lead those discussions. And we don't know the exact number. As I've thought about it, I'm thinking probably 12 to 15-ish community members. Try to represent a good majority of our users, whether that's some of our longtime residents that have the fond memories in the park of when it was first built. Because I think that's another interesting point. Getting done with this rebrand, one of the things that came out was that volunteerism that exists, and that's how that park was built. And we feel like this will help continue that. And if we can really get that vision and that buy-in, then we have that same volunteerism moving forward. And then we feel like there's some good volunteer efforts, but then also could be some cost savings, because the community could help come in and, help with those renovations and different things, so.
Logan, just double checking, the number that needs to be approved by city council, isn't it, like, if it's over 25,000 for doing a plan, but is this just to make it more public? Is that the reason why it's brought before the council today?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, and this is not something that's within the budget, and so that's another reason.
Okay.
We still need to make sure that,
I think it's great that it's focused on that public input component. I think that's really critical, and it's consistent with some of the other big, master planning that we've done. And I think it's a really important part of any renovations, innovations, restoration that we do in the city.
I love it too. I always love when we can slow down, take a step back together, all the citizen input, especially on something as essential to our heritage as this. But, we were just talking about how much is going on with the Pioneer Days. But one of the opportunities is you're going to have so many residents in the park. Is there an opportunity we can set up a booth to gather feedback while we're there and like take advantage of the natural flow of traffic of people who are the regular users?
yeah, that's exactly why we were wanting to get this before you guys now, was because that was the full intent. And when we met with the architect a couple weeks ago, we kind of told him timeline of what we're hoping and told them about that opportunity. And, I think that's a great set up a booth.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you'll see more of with the rebrand. Hopefully you'll see more presence of our Mapleton booth with our swag and different things.
Love it.
And then we'll be able to help solicit, feedback that way. So yeah, absolutely, that's what we're hoping.
Great planning.
Do you have an idea on when it'll be complete, the plan?
We're roughly about 4 to 6 weeks on that initial phase, kind of the planning, getting the input, and then maybe 2-3 weeks after that. So really, it doesn't slow us down too far. We're maybe talking 2 to 3 months max. So
But you wouldn't, when would you start that? I mean, you got a lot going on with the 24th of July, so when would you
Yeah, I think-
start with it?
I think the 24th would probably be that kickoff of it, and then be able to move after that. And a lot of that is just to be fairness for staff to give good time to this. I mean, you and I were talking before, it's a busy time, and we want to make sure we're giving our full effort and attention to that as well.
So maybe October, some drafts in hand
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yep. And the component speaking of the usage, that we're still trying to make sure that we're planning correctly for is, that park does host some of our big events. And so planning around those to make sure that there's as minimal disruptions as possible is another thing that we're being mindful of how we can make sure that if we get those plans and then we're ready to construct anything, that we're thinking through those things to hopefully minimize the impact of those. So we want Noel to get plugged in.
Gotta keep going.
I will make a motion to approve the resolution allowing the Parks and Rec Department to use impact fees in the amount of $16,645 to continue the process of planning the renovation of the city park.
Second.
A motion has been made by Councilmember Beck and to approve this action item, and seconded by Councilmember Garrett.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Okay, the next item is a discussion item to review the fraud risk assessment. Mr. Euler.
All right, thank you, council members. The state auditor requires municipalities to do a self-assessment with the fraud risk. And we have completed our self-assessment this year and received a very low risk level of fraud occurring in the city. As you can see, there are 5 different levels of risk, where fraud could occur. Very high is the worst, high, moderate, low, and very low. Yes, that's a fantastic level for us to be at, but that does not remove all chance of fraud to occur in the city. Staff does a lot to prevent fraud from happening, but it's impossible to detect and prevent all fraud from happening. What we have done and what's most important is the question number 1 discusses a basic separation of duties. And we do our best. This is very difficult on a small scale, on a smaller city, but we use the resources we have to break up responsibilities and segregate the duties of our day-to-day operations to prevent the opportunity for fraud to happen. And we've got a lot of support and a lot of backing in our staff and from council to have the staff that we need to make this possible. And that is probably probably one of the more important points in the fraud risk assessment, and that's why they've assessed so many points to that question. So this is completed, and we'll send it up to the state auditor. But do you have any questions? This is just a discussion item, so we're not voting on anything, but leave it open for discussion.
That 20 points, we went up on that number 6, right? The planned training. Is that, I remember talking about one last year.
Yes,
That was the 20 we
yes.
recaptured this year?
Yep, and, yeah, we have multiple members of staff that are probably reaching that 40 hours.
Awesome. Great job.
So that's,
So it looks like the only thing we need to do is just hire a CPA, then we could
We need a
perfect
certif-
score. Yeah.
no.
You'd have
we
to
don't-
fund a
we don't wanna do
CPA.
that. No, their CPA, CGFM, CMA, there's a lot of different certifications out there, and yeah, that's always an option. I've looked into getting some of those certifications. The CGFM is a lot more applicable to government accounting than a CPA is. Same with the CPFO, different certifications there, but.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right. All right, yeah, we'll move right into administrative reports. Logan? Yep.
All right, so the first one is Pioneer Days. Hopefully everybody's seen that registration is open. This happens every year. We open it and then there's just like a lull and then all of a sudden it's just like a swarm of bees coming. So we just encourage your neighbors and families and friends. It's open and we're excited. We've got a great year planned. Our committee has been working really hard. We're really happy with how things are lining out. So the other thing that we added this year that is new is we are doing a pre-sale for the carnival and the bounce houses, so that if people don't want to stand in line at the day of. So that's another thing we're trying to really encourage people to get those bought before, so you can just show up and have fun for a full 4 hours and not have to stand in line. And right now is the discounted rate till June 27th, 8th, somewhere in there. Yeah. So, and then we sent in the administrative reports a couple days ago, but just wanted to bring it up again that Becky is leaving us. She's getting married. We're excited for her.
Good for her.
Yeah,
That's
it's great. So I think June 21st is now her last day. She's moved it up a couple days as expected. She's just got to get some stuff planned and moved, and so we're excited. We opened up that job and we've received a lot of really good applications. So we're excited for the future of that, but it's open till another couple weeks. We'll see what else comes, and then we'll get some interviews. And then we did just hire our full-time parks tech. His name is Tage Langford. Really excited for him. I was just actually meeting with Zach today and just asked him how his day was going. He's a quick learner, ready, eager, engaged, so we're super excited. And I just want to give a shout out to our park staff. They're doing a great job. The weather has obviously been a little fruitful for everything, and they've done a great job making sure the games are still being played and in a safe manner. If we have lightning or something, we're obviously paying attention, but they've been doing a really, really good job. So I just want to say thank you to them. And that's it for me.
But two things, just piggyback on the Pioneer Days. So we'll be sending out a magazine this year, like we did last year, and I'm pretty excited about that. That magazine, I think, is going to be good for our community to receive. Madison's putting the final touches on that. And then the other one, you might be aware of this. Utah Leagues has each year they promote the idea of reaching out to the middle school, junior high age groups, well, elementary too, probably that maybe that 6th grade time frame. But they can students can write "Why I Love My Community." Have all of you heard about this a little bit? So there's an individual at the middle school by the name of Logan Miner. So he wrote why he loved Mapleton, and within that, it was all about Pioneer Days, and it was pretty cool. We were able to go and present that, and he stood up in class and read the entire letter that he'd sent in. He won. He
Won
received
first place for his
first
grade
place
in the state.
In the
Yeah.
state.
$500 cash to him plus. Yeah, and then plus another, the school got 15?
1,000, yeah.
Yep.
Will that essay be shared in the magazine, or?
Yes, so that's what I was gonna let you know. So the essay will be shared in the magazine. I can forward you his essay.
Great.
I've got a copy of it. And we were considering having him come to the council meeting, which we can still do, and have him come to this next meeting. But we're actually gonna more than likely have him come and to the Sunday concert, what are we calling that?
Sunset in the Park.
Sunset in the
Read it.
Park for Pioneer Days, and have him read that then.
Great.
Would you like him to come to this, our next council meeting and read that, or or we already get him on enough through the magazine and some other options?
I think it'd be cool. I would love to be able to recognize him and that accomplishment if he and his parents are interested.
Okay, I'll check and see if he can come to our next meeting, so.
Let's give him another 2 minutes of his 5 minutes of
Yep,
fame.
That's
That's
right.
It's awesome.
In fact, it was the class, I think those kids were pretty jealous when they found out he just won $500, but it was great. And to note, what the league does now is they actually went around and took pictures of Mapleton, and then at the Fall Utah Leagues Conference, they actually show that video, so it's gonna be kind of cool.
One other quick thing, I forgot, the trails plan. So I've been in discussion this week with our consultants. We'll have the first draft based on that public input come Friday, and then we'll review that. And I'm happy to send that out maybe the first of the week after staff has reviewed it. And then based on recommendations, then they'll continue to refine that, but that's moving right along, so.
Great, thank you. Rob?
All right, well, now I can say with surety that we're done with the flooding, or the potential for flooding. We're actually flooding anybody, done with the potential for flooding out of Maple Canyon. We got pretty close there to overtopping. We had to put a lot of sandbags along the ditch that we've got along there, dig out some around it, but it's down to about a third of what it was at its peak. And with the weather that we're having, there's still snow up in the mountains, but there is snow up in the mountains, on the backside of the mountain until, probably July every year. And so, it's just, we're out of the danger of it coming down fast.
Rob, are you leaving that one? I was gonna piggyback on that one too. Any more?
Well, I was just gonna talk about sandbags unless that's what
Yeah,
you want to.
keep going, and then I'll add in.
So we've had a lot of people ask us about getting rid of the sandbags, and basically what we've been telling people, so there's the group that's off of 1800 East and 1600 East that really was the most at risk and had the most amount of sandbags between what we supplied as a city, and they went out as a neighborhood and bought some on their own. And so we're helping them kind of move those to places. We still have a stash of the sand that we got for it. Sandbags don't last, from year to year. Once they're already exposed to the elements, they deteriorate when you try to move them, and place them different places. So we're not keeping any of the sandbags. And so we're kind of helping them move around. But for kind of everybody else, we had, 15,000-ish sandbags that we provided as a city, and then there was probably another 4,000 or 6,000 that we know that neighborhoods bought. So we're trying to not be involved in a delivery service for for all those sandbags, but just so y'all know, and what we've been telling people is if they're interested in having some sandbags to throw in their barn or their corral or whatever, they're welcome to them. We don't need to go pick them up. They can go and use them. And anything that's left over, once everybody takes whatever they want, we'll figure it out as a city after that and put it in our stockpile.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add, so we're working with that area of town. Burnell Taylor's kind of one leading that, and they're going to do a big service project this Saturday. We're going to help them get all the pallets of sandbags to a particular location. I don't know if you know the Ashmans that live there on Maple and up the canyon there a little bit. They would like as much sand as possible, so they're going to do a service project there and dump that sand in their arena. It's actually an enclosed arena. So once that happens on Saturday, we'll go back out and see what's left, and then we'll provide dumpsters and locations for them to go and cut the bags, dump the sand out, and throw the bags in a garbage can. So we'll work with them to get everything cleaned up with that. And the only other comment to add to it, kudos to our Public Works. Behind the scenes, this actually has been, for Rob, this last couple of months, flooding has been a big thing that we've had to just kind of monitor on a daily basis, work with the residents. Kudos to our residents. They stepped up and they did what they needed to do to get prepared. That made our job a lot nicer because there was confidence that they were taking care of things, and they got their groups together. We didn't have to force that, and thank you for you as a council to just the support and as you talked with residents throughout the community, that was kind of you to just help them, comfort them through this. But couldn't have asked for a better, I think, as far as the concerns that they might be experiencing, they handle themselves very professional, and we'll keep this on record now of what our future might bring based on these type of. One of the things that we're hearing from the old timers was if we would have got more snow in the month of May, that they think that would have created some bigger challenges for us. So that's something we got to keep an eye on in the future if we get this type of snowfall in the winter months.
Good job, Rob.
Yeah, well, thanks, and it wasn't me, it was my staff, but I'll pass on the thank you, because it really was, and a thank you to the police also, because they were helping us watch it during the night. But there were, and maybe, specifically, a kudos to to Brad, who's our operations manager, and JD, who's our stormwater collections manager. I mean, even though we had kind of a timeline and we had it split up as who was going to go take a look at the ditch when, especially during the night, and we were utilizing the police. Even when it wasn't their turn, I know both of them were waking up in the middle of the night just because they were concerned and they cared, and they just wanted to, even though they knew somebody else was looking at it, they just wanted to make sure themselves. And they had a lot of sleepless nights, and it's because they care about their job. So they did
It was
a really
like
good
2 or
job.
3 Saturdays ago, I saw you out working on one of the ditches, and I was like, okay, man, we're doing good, and that's not easy to do, especially just a few months on the job, so I think real good job.
I do appreciate that. Thank you. And we're glad. So Brad, who like I said, concerned, he's really good. He does not want to hear the word flooding for probably about the next 10 years, but I told him I can't promise that, so. But anyways, our pressurized irrigation connections, we had a city project where we made 2 connections this spring, so those are up and running. Those are feeding the pressurized irrigation system. Those are done. There's just a little bit of roadway cleanup work. There was some new paving that's put in, and because of how new the road is that we were having to cut into, we're going to do some milling and stuff. So a little bit of cleanup work, but that's basically done. There's also a couple of connections that are going in subdivisions that are we're working through the plans right now. So in the end, on the so we have. Without getting too far into the weeds, different pressure zones, right, depending on elevation. So there's 5 in the main one that covers most of the city that should be completed within, if not this year, then probably the next one. And then the Central Utah is putting in a high pressure one down at the south end. We just had another coordination meeting with them this week. That can help serve when that's all complete and Harmony Ridge is built out, can serve, and Harmony Ridge has a good portion of the upper pressure zones. It'll serve them, and then we can start making connections and get all the pipe that we have in place in those upper zones that we don't have the pressure in our irrigation system. As soon as we get that up and running, we can start connecting them too. So it's really good. I mean, in a short time frame, we're going from basically 0 connections to 6 really good connections that once they're connected and while they're delivering water, doesn't take any extra energy because it's already coming down with enough pressure to feed all those. So it's really good. And then just a heads up, next week, I'm going to be bringing through, or not next week, but next meeting, I'm going to be bringing through, we're going to do some overlays. With all the construction that's going on our roads, it's going to be a smaller road rehab project that we're bringing through this year. I expect the next year's is going to be bigger than this year's to do a little bit of catch up. But I'm going to be bringing through our HA5. It's an overlay, a high quality overlay that we do on new roads after they're constructed, and then even we do it occasionally, for existing roads also. But I'll be bringing that one through next year, and that'll be probably the bulk of our of what we can do this year for rehab. And then, like I said, next year I expect it's going to be I'll be bringing through a bigger one that's going to have multiple just those overlays, mill down an overlay and crack seal, and I'll bring through a crack seal before the end of this year. But anyways, next year's will be bigger. So that's the plan.
Bryce?
Just want to give you a heads up for our next council meeting. I have a good handful of items that we'll be bringing to you. We've got the fiscal year 24 budget that we've had some good conversation on, the amendments to the fiscal year 23 budget. So I'll get that sent out here in the next little bit and give you time to review that and get any questions. We can discuss those. We'll have the sewer rate discussion coming up, and then just a couple of other housekeeping items for certified tax rate and some transfer notices, smaller things, but that'll be in next meeting. But feel free to reach out when I send those out and have any questions that you have with those or any discussions that you want to have with those. And then I just wanted to let you all know and acknowledge our treasurer, Lonnie Bonnet. She, this last month, she was able to go down to our treasurer's conference in St. George, and she went a little bit earlier, and with her years that she needed to be a treasurer, and she took some courses and became a certified public funds investment manager, I think is the way to say that, so.
Good to me.
She,
Give us some more points on the.
you think it would, but it's, those acronyms aren't on here. But yeah, that's pretty exciting. We're as excited for her to, go and do that, and, just wanted to let you guys know that.
Great, thank you. Jessica?
Do you want Chief?
Oh, I'm just going around the circle.
We'll
Chief,
go on
do you want to
this
go?
Go ahead.
I'm impressed you're the administrative reports. Wow. Sorry I'm late. I had a buddy from high school's dad passed away. I wanted to go to his viewing, so that's why I'm a little bit late. Just two real quick ones, one from the fire side, one from the police side. The fire side, they're doing a multi-agency training. You'll probably see them out there training on Tuesday, Thursday nights, and Saturdays during the day. It's an operational class to teach about driving and working the pumpers. You probably have more idea of what they're gonna be teaching, but there's gonna be firefighters from multiple jurisdictions up here those nights, so you'll see them up here. And Theron is in that class, so he's gonna be busy on Tuesday and Thursday nights for a while. And then on the police side, just real quick announcement, Youth Academy starts in just a couple weeks. You guys are welcome to come to any session that we do. If you want to schedule, I can give it to Camille and have her send it out.
No, that schedule would be great.
And the fun one we added this year is a search and rescue night down at Utah Lake. So they're going to take us out on the boats and stuff, so that'll be pretty fun. So that starts in a couple weeks. So.
Great, thank you.
All of my meetings are next week, so I actually don't have anything today.
Okay, so next time you'll have,
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, do we need, if we haven't had the shout out to the fire department for their best of recognition, we should do that for the record. That's right.
I believe, was that in the newsletter too, this last month, right? I think we put that in there, yeah.
It's been viral on social. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
great, Casey?
Not much, just to mention that the NYCC, they're doing their kids camp in a couple weeks, and I know I have a couple kids that'll be attending, and I think they might still take more kids if you haven't signed up yet.
3 more.
3 more.
That would be 3.
Nice.
More? No report from me?
I actually don't have anything either.
No?
I will be sending each of you out an ethics form and a disclosure statement. If you guys can just fill those out and send them back to me, we just need to get those ready.
Great.
Couple other things for you. We'd received some information from, I think it was Representative Burgess Owens, that their office wanted to come down and utilize our facility it was like on June the 21st, and it would allow individuals to come, and if they had any concerns or issues with the federal government or political issues, they could come and talk.
If they have any issues?
Yes, if, yeah.
If, oh, okay, I just wanted to be.
Wide open
Okay.
agenda.
Okay,
Well, that's what it is, yeah. So my question for
Is this
you-
all year
Oh, we've
long?
got council that night.
That's right. My question, is that something you're interested in having them do? We
Yeah.
do, I anticipate if we do allow that, we will probably get more interest of that type of, groups reaching out to us to want to come and do that. You okay with
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's on,
as a sitting representative of our district, I think that's very
Yeah.
appropriate to.
I know we've
make that available.
supported, like Representative White's come and he does the town halls, that kind of stuff.
anything to promote citizen engagement in
You're good with it?
government at any level.
Okay,
But
so
that's a council night. Is it June 21st they want to do?
Yeah, June 21st, yep. Yep. It's the middle of the day, though. They're looking at like 1:30 to 3:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was my only concern, is if it interrupted any city business or anything like
Yeah.
that, we might, as long as the schedule works out, I'm all for it, yeah.
Okay, I'll reach out to them, let them know tomorrow that'll be okay. And then we've kind of already hit on it, but just with recognizing with the busyness of your summers, our next city council meeting is June 21st. That is, we'll have a lengthy agenda with obviously some budget items, we have some developments, and Rocky Mountain Power, their agreement's due up, so we've got that one to discuss. It's pretty straightforward. I don't see that one to be too big of a topic, but we will have a hefty agenda for that meeting. And then July 5th and July 19th, we're still on schedule to meet those nights. So if you're obviously recognizing that's right around holidays, if you're going to be missing, let us know sooner than not, and we can try to work around those schedules. And that's all I had.
Great, thank you. Is there any other business that needs to be brought before the council? If not, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Oh,
Oh, Rolf, would you mind coming up to the microphone?
So
discussion on what the city's gonna do with the
First of all,
Farm.
state your name now that we can
Ralph
record you.
Walpole. Yeah, Ralph Walpole. So Dallas got a hold of me a couple of months ago. We met over at the Simpsons Farm Park, I guess you'd call it. Anyway, and he was just asking me, and since Logan's here, that's why I thought I'd bring this up. He was asking me what my recommendations would be as far as the city taking care of that and making it, I guess, into the farm that it's set aside to be. And I don't know if you guys have had any discussion on that, so.
Logan, maybe just explain exactly the address so they're familiar with that
Yeah.
location.
Yeah, get us
Yeah.
up to speed.
Eight-
I've never heard of anything.
800 West and 800 North. So it's in Whiting Farms.
Yeah,
The
think-
12 acres,
Yep, it goes underneath the power
the
lines.
12
That was a
acres.
subdivision, came before you a number of years ago, probably half built out at this point, but if you recall, part of that development was we received some open space right when you come off 8th North. That is now city-owned property, and like Logan mentioned, there's power lines running through the middle, so keep going, Logan, go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, the 12 acres under the power lines.
Yeah.
I thought you were,
Yeah.
sorry, I thought you were talking about north of 1200. So this is the development that's already there.
Yeah.
yeah,
Got it.
yep, right on the corner.
Power line Park, I think is what Councilman.
and supposedly it was designated as farm,
Yeah.
city farm
Yeah.
property.
Is the inquiry around farming it?
Well,
Or
so-
an interest to farm it?
Yeah, well, so Dallas asked me if I had any interest, and so I told him basically what I would recommend if I was going to farm it. I would, the irrigation is obviously messed up, but there is secondary water there, and so I was telling him the ideal thing would be to put a sprinkler system on that will lines, and it would, my estimation would probably be about $20,000 for a will line that would go on there, but you would have to approve it for secondary irrigation to feed that.
Are you interested in farming it?
I would if.
What crop
if it
would
were-
you put on there?
I would just put it in alfalfa.
Alfalfa?
Yeah.
So I think for this year, we've worked with Jake Harward. He is planning on putting some pumpkins in there. We did make a connection to the secondary
Okay.
that is there.
All right, yeah.
And so due to what you're saying, without it, there was some plans and some talks of doing some laser leveling to help with the flow of the water. But due to costs and timing, that just wasn't gonna be feasible right now. And so the drip irrigation is gonna be the best. There'll be some pumpkins. And then we're gonna be able to work a little bit with him on the community pumpkin night to then have some pumpkins from there as well, so.
But I do recall the intention around that conversation when it was passed was having a scenario where it was cultivated in some way.
Right.
Sounds like it's.
Yeah, and if Jake's gonna do it and farm it and have pumpkins, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, these guys were here and.
But we don't
I
mind
just thought
having
I'd-
second dibs, should we,
Yeah,
should we need
and it's not
some,
like,
yeah.
I mean, I wish there was money in farming, you can make all this money, but I have to do other things to support my farming habits, so.
Yeah, and right now, we're just on a year-to-year with it. I actually will be meeting with Jake on Friday to just finalize everything and make sure he's ready, because he's ready to go if that's gonna be
Yeah.
what the plan is. So I
Well,
can
good,
follow
I'm
up with you
glad
for
that-
sure.
I just was wondering if something had happened, because I hate to see it being in
Yeah.
weeds
Yeah.
and not productive.
We do
and-
too.
Yeah,
And if it gets to be where, there's not many of us farmers around left, and so if I can help out or farm it or whatever.
thank you.
I think that's great. I think
Appreciate
in any
that.
case, it should be
Yeah.
cultivated in some way. That's
Yeah,
great.
For sure. Thanks, Ralph.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ralph.
Wonderful. Thank you for your comments. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Garrett, yes.
Oh, second. We
I'll
have
second it.
Aaron Garrett, seconded. Sister Egbert. Councilmember Egbert made a motion to approve, and Councilmember, oh my gosh, we're done. We all voted, right? See you later.
Goodbye.
Sorry, Sister Egbert.